Okay, I got my mic working. Great, finally.
freedomtalkradio.co.uk.
Yay.
This is the most diverse, most amazing, one of the funniest radio stations you could ever listen to on the internet. I've heard so much stuff from the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights,
the politics, the non-politics, the schmolitics, whatever you want to call them.
It's great.
The Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it. Were you listening to me, Neo? Or were you looking at the woman in the red dress?
I was...
Look again. Freeze it.
This isn't the Matrix.
No. It's another training program designed to teach you one thing. If you are not one of us, you are one of them.
What are they?
Sentient programs. They can move in and out of any software still hardwired to their system. That means that anyone we haven't unplugged is potentially an agent. Inside the Matrix, they are everyone, and they are no one.
We have survived by hiding from them, by running from them. But they are the gatekeepers. They are guarding all the doors, they are holding all the keys, which means that sooner or later, someone is going to have to fight them.
Someone.
I won't lie to you, Neo. Every single man or woman who has stood their ground, everyone who has fought an agent has died. But where they have failed, you will succeed.
Why?
I've seen an agent punch through a concrete wall. Men have emptied entire clips at them and hit nothing but air. Yet their strength and their speed are still based in a world that is built on rules. Because of that, they will never be as strong or as fast as you can be.
What are you trying to tell me? That I can dodge bullets?
No, Neo. I'm trying to tell you that when you're ready, you won't have to.
Welcome to End Times Matrix News. This is the Tuesday edition, March 25th of 2014. And, of course, we are coming up to some interesting, really interesting times here. And we have a lot of interesting news that is going on. The title for this show today is going to be called Vatican Satanist. And, of course, I don't have much room for my titles, so I have to whittle them down. The last show that we talked about, a lot of people enjoyed with the talking about the pineal gland from the Christian perspective, but we also will relate it back to some of the New Agers' promotion of it, the Hinduism, the third eye stuff, but I will return. There's a couple more sections that I wanted to finish up with the pineal gland just for this. I mean, you could do lots of shows just on this whole topic, and I wanted to tie it more into discussing with the scalar waves and the entrainment technologies, the entanglement technologies, things that you're looking at, at the radio or whatever, and you're going, what's he talking about? Well, that's why we want to talk about it, because if you watch regular mainstream media, you will just see nonstop staring at an ocean, staring at a topic about a airliner, and today I was running behind today because I was trying to upgrade some computer stuff, and I didn't get it completed in time. So I don't have my interesting Malaysian airline sound bites today. But of course, I'm going to touch on that story here in a second. Basically, the End Times Matrix, for those who are new listeners to the show, what we're trying to do is give you a Christian worldview perspective. I usually cover things from a biblical view. I will mix in some biblical scripture or some books related to topics that are into the news right now. I'm not a preacher. I don't do a church sermon type of a show. I'm just a Christian American patriot, believes in what the founding fathers established this country and what everybody in government does not believe in these days. So I am part of the group of voices out there that speaks on behalf of the Constitution, the American Constitution, the belief in that the United States was founded on Judeo-Christian principles, was founded on the rule of law, and when you are a criminal under the Constitution, then there should be some penalties. There should be congressmen and presidents sitting in prison right now for what they've done, and senators sitting in prison right now for what they have done. We have a criminal syndicate that has taken over Washington, D.C., and they've been in place for a long time. I'm not just saying it just is the Obama administration. That is the current idiot that is sitting up there who took the 30 pieces of silver for his time in to be the evil prince, whatever he wants to be. So he's just the fall guy for the globalist regime that is bringing the whole world down and trying to strangle us with a noose, an economic noose, and throw everything into chaos. Hopefully somebody sends me $10 for saying chaos, because the mainstream media loves to say chaos, and because this is their trigger word, chaos. Sick of that term. You hear it every day, all day long, from the Order Ab Chao Freemasons who love the word chaos. They're creating it on purpose. This is orchestrated. This is not by accident that these things are happening. The collapse of governments, the collapse of social society, the collapse of your local school with the insane superintendents who run these public schools, the fabric of the globe is being changed on purpose to bring about their little Antichrist Messiah Savior, whether he be beaming down Scotty, alien, or a serpent clone of some sort. These, of course, are weird concepts to normal people. Normal people don't. They start hearing this stuff and they go, "This is wacky." Well, yes, of course it's wacky, because the real news is wacky. The people who run the globe, the people who run these governments, are part of these inbred bloodlines of wacky, insane Satanists, psychopaths that do their satanic stuff in secret, but then they get all cleaned up for their media shots that their paid media gives them as rosy a makeover as they can with these Satanists. So the media is a bought and paid for prostitutes who serve their masters, who are the globalists, who are these bloodlines that go all the way back to Cain. Go all the way back to the serpent knowledge, the serpent seed concept that you will find in the Bible, but which is not talked about by the mainstream seminaries and mainstream churches. Mainstream churches today are the mega churches who want to talk about compromise and let's all go along, get along. Let's just have happy music, happy talk. No Bible, please, because it's too divisive. And let's just all praise God and praise Jesus. And I'm going to make Jesus the way I want Jesus to be. And it's not the Jesus from the Bible, because that Jesus is too confrontational and that Jesus is too divisive. So we're going to have New Age Jesus. And that's what Son of God by Miss Downey, touched by an angel, New Age Jesus was in that movie that she just did. Now we're going to have Illuminati Noah, the movie that has nothing to do with the Noah of the Bible. And this is just typical. This is typical Hollywood. They will for people to get upset. I'm really not sure why they get upset when this happens. Hollywood is a Satanist cult, okay? Plain and simple. You can go and watch any of these interviews by any of these people, from Katy Perry to Beyonce to Jay-Z to you just pull them up. You don't have to listen to me and say, "Oh, he's just giving you some conspiracy stuff." I say, pull up these people. Pull up Hollywood Satanists. You Google it. Pull up actors Satanists. Whatever you want to say. Listen to their little confessions that they give regarding selling their soul to get where they are. Katy Perry. I wanted to be the next Amy Grant, but that never happened. So I guess I sold my soul to Satan, and now I got everything I wanted, and I sing all this Illuminati garbage. And, that's, and I always want to say to Katy, you're only there because you're a preacher's kid that's chose Lucifer over Yahweh, Jehovah, God the Father. And that's why you're there, because they want more little girls from church families to follow Katy Perry and not follow the correct biblical teaching. So that's what's going on. I mean, that's as simple as it gets. So, Katy, you need to, and I'm not mad with these people. I think she's definitely a deceived person, but they are doing evil, and you need to pray against their influence as they are orchestrating evil and impacting youth. So you you pray for people like Katy Perry. You pray for these Beyonce and these Jay-Z people. They're going to hell, and they know they're going to hell, and they think that there's a chance that this Luciferian doctrine that they serve in Hollywood is going to defeat the return of God. They believe this flipped, inverted world, which they love to do. If you watch any of their movies, they always do these inverted scenes where they'll do and you see this with you'll see this as the as above, so below kind of thing. They'll do an inverted picture of God. Lucifer is the good God. Jesus and Jehovah are the bad God. Jesus and Jehovah want to make you your slaves. You have to do what they do, or else you go to hell. And the good old Lucifer, he just wants to have one long keg party and let you do anything you want to do. That's their philosophy. That's the Aleister Crowley philosophy. As do as you will shall be the whole of the law. It's whatever you want to do is good. And some people are so deluded that they actually buy into this, and they think it means, oh no, just as long as you don't hurt other people. That's not what it is. It says do what you want to, and get away with it. That's the whole of the law. So if you want to kill people and get away with it, that should be the whole of the law. So Satanism is a big lie. Luciferianism is a big lie. They've been removing Christian values, Christian philosophy, Christian morals from the American tapestry for the last it's obviously since the 60s, but as far as the direct attack on the Bible itself, that has been going on since they started the RSV back in the 1880s. So the direct attack on the Scripture, the biblical, holy, inspired Word of God, has been going on since the 1880s at least, and that's why we have all these New Age Bibles now. And people, the obvious thing is, why do we have 200 new versions of the Bible? Well, because you can put trademarks on it. So if I want to quote out of one of these hybrid Bibles, they technically can deny me posting the verses because I haven't paid them my dues to use their trademarked verses. Where you can't do that with the King James. That's a public domain That's a public domain Bible, and so you can read it for free online. You can quote from it. You can do anything you want. You can send it in PDFs. You can, there's no price to pay to read the King James, but these other Bibles that they're promoting, that are New Agey paraphrase Bibles, are all trademarked. So copyrighted, I guess is the correct term, copyrighted, to so that they can get $1 out of it. Okay, so you can't reproduce this material. You see this crazy kind of capitalism. I'm not really sure I want to use the term capitalism, because with all the Marxists attacking everything, Obama and all his whole ilk, all these commies that are all around us now. But I want to say that the love of money is the root of all evil is the actual biblical verse, because it's not that money is the root of all evil, because money was set up to do commerce, to trade, to otherwise all of us would have to do everything physically ourselves to make all the ends meet. It started with barter, where if I'm growing corn over here and you got chickens over there, I swap my corn for your eggs, and we go back and forth. And then there became another way of using commerce with coins, mineral deposits, and all this kind of stuff. Money is just a exchange agreement in a culture, and it's just meant to diversify and allow us to do many different things. But the love of money is what we see is destroying the whole globe. This Ponzi scheme of the fiat currencies established by the Federal Reserve, and the Ponzi scheme has been planned to come unhinged. I mean, we were technically, and people don't really understand this point, we were technically insolvent back in 1933. So we've been bankrupt for that length of time. But the point is, they can float this fake numbers and digits on computers all day long. They could do it for another 200 years with no consequence. It's not like, we have to pay back these debts and all this. No, the whole world is built on this Ponzi scheme. It's not like everybody's going broke. These guys at the top know it's just a fake reality that they created. It's not, and they manufacture this thing so they can bring us all down at the same time. That's the point of it. It's a control issue. It's about crippling nation states and societies that gain complete control over us. Because when they go to the paperless economy, the cashless society, they can say you either take the chip or you don't exist. Okay, and that's two ways of looking at it. You're going to starve to death, and anybody who feeds you will be able to track that on their chip when they're buying stuff and giving it to you. We have chips in clothing, we have chips in all kinds of stuff. So if Joe over here buys you pants and a t-shirt and you start walking around in Joe's chipped items, then we know Joe is a conspirator and we take away Joe's chip, or we turn his chip off, or whatever you do to punish those who would be civilized. So that's where we are with these insane people. It's all about forcing us into Lucifer's last-ditch attempt to defeat God. His last-ditch attempt is to have the world's armies gathered at the Battle of Armageddon, waiting for some vortex to open up and watch the return of Jesus Christ. These movies called the Avenger movies and all that kind of stuff. These are picture movies made by Luciferians and Satanists of Hollywood to portray the Earth's greatest Avengers, Earth's greatest group of individuals gathered together to protect us from the extraterrestrial threat. And then the real extraterrestrial threat to all these people who run the world is the return of Jesus Christ. So they want to have Iron Man and these demigods, these fallen angels, these possessed, chipped individuals who have demonic possession through these chips and these Gollum hybrids. That they want all these guys gathered to take on Christ when he returns. And not a whole lot of people say it like that. I'm saying it like that because that's the end game. The end game is a showdown with Jesus Christ by the world's serpent lineages who have betrayed the world and who have tricked the world and have deceived the world. And all those who get chipped and are gathered there are going to suffer an eternal damnation. And they'll be defeated easily. It's not like numbers. People get it in their heads that there's going to be some kind of numerical problem here. Christ has a sword come out of his mouth, and he cuts all these people down. It's not like that he needs to have a lot of backup to do it. He created everything, and he can end things when he wants to end things, and he has set their judgment date upon these people. So Ray Kurzweil, suited up in his little bionic Iron Man suit, with the rest of his little transhumanists all sitting there, are going to get mowed down. Okay, and the point is that what future did they offer you? When you look at these guys, what is their utopian apocalyptic dreams? All these sick, degenerate movies. I can think all the way back to Blade Runner and Harrison Ford. It's always dark and ugly and filthy and scammy, and it's just the underbelly of humanity. And that's all these people ever offer. These Elysian movies, these, we're going to turn this place into a garbage dump, but we're going to venture out into space and colonize the other globes, the other solar systems or something like that. They don't understand that the fallen angels and all that, these previous, when they fell from heaven, were thrown out of these upper heavens, and that a lot of this extraterrestrial stuff you get with Mars and stuff is the residue of these former fallen angel gray aliens or whatever else hybrids they got out there that have been occupying this actual space since they've been booted out of the upper heavens. And so we are talking about dimensional things. We're talking about dimensional realities. We're talking about spirits who could not cross over dimensional realities. We get them, these poltergeists and all this kind of stuff. They can manifest for a short period of time. I'm really looking forward to reading Steve Quayle's new Exogenesis book, because he gets in there. He has actual sections in there discussing the whole thing about refracted light and the rainbow, and how the rainbow is not only a covenant between God and the people not to destroy the earth through a global flood again, but is actually a covenant that is a protective light barrier to the forces of these demonic entities. So what they get into, which is very interesting, this is on the more the conspiratorial side of things, but we're talking about this whole thing with the seeding of the atmosphere with I'm drawing a blank on it, but the seeding of the upper atmosphere by the B-52s with the chemtrails. That's the term. The chemtrails is this combination of junk and filth and all kinds of nanobot garbage and things that are supposed to basically affect the light spectrum of the light coming to the planet. And what he's getting at is that there's the purple hues and there's different frequencies that are associated with light and the frequencies of I guess I'll get off this topic, but the point is that they're mucking up the upper atmosphere so that it filters out specific light frequencies that would be associated with God and being able to communicate with God and his people. And so we've been seeing this really ugly winter and this really ugly, just these ugly skies for a long time now. And every now and then we get a nice day where the sun pops through and everybody just feels better when they get when they're outside with their dogs or doing their gardening. You just feel better because you got the full spectrum of light. But they're trying to purposely filter out a lot of this stuff to basically have this dark world kind of concept. And they've been portraying this in the movies. Again, I'll use the movies. They had Star Trek Enter the Darkness or whatever, the last movie that they did. They just had the Thor movie, Into Darkness, which they're fables, as the Bible will call these fake fables. And, Bible talks about don't believe in men's fairy tales or fables of their fake reality. This is an accusation against a lot of the oral traditions that are passed down through the, say, Plato and the world's belief systems about their creation and their gods and all this kind of stuff. But it actually gets in there if you watch the last Thor movie, the one Into Darkness, the opening scene of it. It talks about in the beginning, before the light says that there was darkness and the dark elves existed in the darkness and in this darkness. And the whole movie's about taking the world back to their darkness and them going to spread darkness throughout the whole galaxy. Illuminati take on that is you have to flip that imagery, and they're talking about, here comes Jesus was the light and the light of the world, and he, okay, so the Illuminati take is that Jesus is the darkness, the real Jesus, and his light spread throughout the world, and they want to take us back to this darkness. Well, they flip it, and their whole show is about defeating, basically making Jesus the dark elf, and that's how they do these things. That's why they can portray themselves as heroic when they actually are evil. And so Hollywood Satanism often flips the heroine and the villain parts to portray their real reality, which is they believe they're the heroes fighting on behalf of Lucifer. So this Enter the Darkness thing and this light wave refraction and all these kinds of things, very interesting things. So Quayle's covered a lot of this in his Exogenesis book that's just coming out. Who knows how much time we have to read our books? Not much time at all. And so I'll just touch on a couple stories before we go to our first break. I know I had a long introduction there, but okay, we'll just touch on the Crimean story really quick. We were talking about that. I've talked about that in other articles. I put out blog articles back tying the Crimean-Ukrainian conflict back to 1997 and Brzezinski's book that he released at that time, which is called The Geopolitical Chess Match, I believe. Where that might not be the exact title, but if you want to look up Brzezinski and the chess match, that's the book where the Crimean-Ukrainian dynamic was first floated, and that was talked about. We talked about that in another blog post about 2008, where the Russians are talking about World War III will start in the Crimea. So not much new there, other than as far as for today, the 25th, it says a Ukrainian ultra-nationalist leader has been shot dead in what officials describe as a special forces operation. Oleksandr Muzisko, better known as Sashko Bili, died in a shootout with police in a cafe in Rivne in western Ukraine, the Interior Ministry said. He was a leader of the Right Sector, a far-right group which was prominent in the recent anti-government protests. Meanwhile, Ukraine's parliament has voted to accept the resignation of Defense Minister Ihor Tenyuk. Mr. Tenyuk has been accused of indecision in the face of Russia's military takeover of Crimea. The shooting of Mizusko happened just hours after Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov had held talks with his Ukrainian counterpart Andriy I wonder how these people actually pronounce their names, but it's interesting. Andrei something. Their first meeting since Russia's move into Crimea triggered a diplomatic crisis. Okay, so you have basically in a summarized version here, you're having a kind of a Hitler-esque Night of the Long Knives, where you're having a consolidation of power through assassinating people who are the most threat to your position. Always happens with takeovers. If you look at any of Stalin's old, there's some interesting old Stalin photos where an artist basically eliminates people out of the background of certain paintings as the years go by, as certain people are executed who were originally in the Stalin fan club and portrayed next to him. So this is what you get with Marxism and Satanism. The Satanism is all as portrayed in Harry Potter. It's always the person's trying to knock off the top person with the most power to gain their power by taking their wand or taking something of theirs and consolidating power. And when you're ill or weak, that's when you're most vulnerable in the satanic realms, because that's when the other backstabbers come after you. It's their opportunity to climb to the top. So when you hear George Bush talking about we're going to have to live by the law of the jungle. That's his Luciferian satanic jungle he's talking about. No longer are we going to have our elite children kill each other to gain, whatever the top dog position. We're going to have this new world order where all of us Luciferians get to rule. That's his little 1,000 points of light. He totally went over everybody's head when he was doing his little New World Order talk back in 1991. So we got the Crimea and Putin and the Ukraine. Basically, they're just going to be used. They're aligning right now with China, and then they're going to be used basically to destroy the United States currency through their alliance. So, yeah, there's some interesting people who have been talking about that this week, and other conspiratorial stuff that just is way out there for the normal population of investigative reporters who usually pan out. I'm trying to remember his name, but I can't right off the top of my head. Let's see. So that was the Ukrainian situation. Then another popular one that I actually saw it on the mainstream media. I actually saw this on Fox News. I didn't think they would carry it, but I guess their Catholic connection with abortion and stuff, their anti-abortion Catholic contingency that is within Fox News, they will report things related to this topic. Since they're what I call the Jesuit news network, where you can always find Peter King rooting for more military operations and more police state chasing terrorist propaganda. He's the Catholic guy congressman out of New York that's Cardinal Dolan's darling. But yes, this is the aborted babies incinerated to heat UK hospitals. This gets into our topic for today that I will touch on in just a little bit because it's a big topic. I'm going to tie it together for you. I'm going to tie in some things people haven't tied together. And it's going to give you an eye-opener as far as you see that these end times have a lot of consolidation going on with a lot of topics. And this is, we're going to get into it, and I'm going to tie together some points between the pineal gland, the Satanists, and these kind of stories that you're seeing here. So we'll just cover this separate, since this is a story that's out in the public. It says aborted babies incinerated to heat UK hospitals. The bodies of thousands of aborted and miscarried babies were incinerated as clinical waste, with some even used to heat hospitals, an investigation has found. Now, that line right there gets the Christian Bible-believing, the biblically knowledgeable population to automatically jump to the Moloch stories, the children passing through the fire. He says no one who lets their child pass through the fire will enter, or will be redeemed or enter the kingdom of God. Moloch was the god that was constantly in the old world, in the that the Israelis Israelis had to deal with constantly was child sacrifice, related to child sacrifice. People would be, I always, in a tongue-in-cheek way, like to link this to the prosperity gospel. So people go, what? Child sacrifice to the prosperity gospel? Yes, that's the main selling point of the abortionists. Is they say, oh, if this young lady has a child, she won't be able to go to law school and become wealthy and be able to support herself because she got derailed by having a child. So therefore, abortion, if you sacrifice the problem, the child, if you kill the problem, then she will acquire more wealth in her lifetime. Therefore, abortion is a prosperity gospel. And so here we have the incineration of babies. So 10 NHS trusts have admitted burning fetal remains alongside other rubbish, while 2 others used the bodies in waste-to-energy plants which generate power for heat. Last night, the Department of Health issued an instant ban on the practice, which Health Minister Dr. Dan Poulter branded totally unacceptable. Let's see. At least 15,500 fetal remains were incinerated by 27 NHS trusts over the last 2 years alone, Channel 4's dispatches discovered. The program, which will air tonight, found that the parents who lose children in early pregnancy were often treated without compassion and were not consulted about what they wanted to have happen to the remains. And this brings in the whole thing with this is where the tribute to Darwinian fitness, to Darwinianism, to social Darwinism, to eugenics, to this scientific, callous ability to experiment on humans, and to this Luciferian science, which basically looks at humans as animals, little rats that be experimented on. And so when you discard their remains, it's just like throwing away any other kind of medical waste. And so this means nothing to these academics that have no connection to God. It seems rational. They're just another waste product, and why don't you just incinerate it with the other organ or cancerous tissues that we incinerate? So, you can see how this plays into the callousness of these people, but we're going to see a lot more of this homicidal callousness in the tribulation period. Let's see. One of the country's leading hospitals, Adam Brooks in Cambridge, incinerated 797 babies below 13 weeks gestation at their own waste-to-energy plant. The mothers were told the remains had been cremated. Okay, well, it's not very honest, is it? A cremation is the destroying of tissue, disposal of a body, as symbolic with the burial, with people who choose to be cremated, put in an urn, versus people who are buried. They're just disposing of them as medical waste, which is they're not human. They never were. And this, again, can't you see this with the abortionists? They try to play around with words with when does this become a actual human? They do all this kind of stuff. Well, when the egg is fertilized, that's when they become human. Okay. Well, when does the spirit or the soul enter this amalgamation of cells? They want to sit here and try to play this pharisaical or legalistic attorney garbage with specifying when did life actually begin, when it's none of their business. Life began when the child was, when it started growing in the mother's womb. That's when life begins. Do you have to sit here and try to decide where you can kill a baby legally and think your conscience, that God won't hold you responsible for it? People who have had abortions can be forgiven if they seek forgiveness, of course. It's a great burden to have, and I've had to deal with lots of women who have that burden. There's also other women that don't feel anything bad about it, and I've dealt with those folks too. So, it's your heart and your spirit you can become very callous and insensitive, and you can see how these genocidal practices can happen. You can see how they can do it with the elderly. I am currently dealing with the whole Alzheimer thing and the whole, dealing with people with senility and stuff. Do you go just dispose of them because they're useless eaters? Or do you go back to the sources of the people who put this crap in their food sources, that all these dyes and garbage and businesses like Monsanto, who cut corners all over the place, polluted the food sources of humanity, and we have this epidemic of people having these deposits in their body that harden their arteries, that mess up their ability to sit here and process out and filtrate stuff out of their bodies, and their arteries harden and their brains slowly die. You know, who did this? This is the great scientific lovers of money who did this. This is the Bill Gates of the world. So, the ones who say that we need to dispose of you because you can't afford to live longer. So we don't want you drawing on our resources. I mean, I got plenty of money. Sure, I sold you all down the river a long time ago. I can hang out with Ray Kurzweil and buy as many clone bodies to download my conscience into that I want to. But you peasants, you guys need to die and get out of the way. You're only useless eaters. You're not the great people like me and Ray. So it's easy to see how they get into this. People who do not have respect for life, people who do not have respect for God. This is what you end up with. Moloch in the modern day, burning babies in crematoriums in the basement of hospitals, and go, gee, that's an inefficient use of heat. So we should hook it up and heat the whole hospital off. Burn babies. That sounds like your MBA right there. Your bottom line guy in the front office, the business office, going, gee, that's an inefficient use of heat. I can see that right now. It says, this practice is totally unacceptable, said Dr. Poulter. Now that you all know about it, and we have to look like we're civilized, that's what it should say. While the vast majority of hospitals are acting in the appropriate way, that must be the case for all hospitals, and the Human Tissue Authority has not been asked to ensure that it acts on this issue without delay. I had to take bioethicists and morality classes in college, and they were the biggest, stupidest waste of time. It's like a philosophy of it's like these people are detached from the humanity as these bioethicists. It's like they sit here and they're like frustrated lawyers who want to argue over all the, is this an ethical decision or a moral, and I'm sitting there going, I believe in this is torture. You're torturing my mind here with your foolishness. And this is the foolishness of the world talking. So while the vast majority of so Chief Medical Officer Dame Sally Davis has also written to the Human Tissue Authority to ask them to make sure the guidance is clear. And the Care Quality Commission said it would investigate the program's findings. Professor Sir Mike Richards, Chief Inspector of Hospitals, said, I am disappointed. Trust may not be informing or consulting women and their families. Sure you are, sir. This breaches our standard of respecting and involving people who use services, and I'm keen for dispatches to share their evidence with us. So this is all a giant CYA. Cover your giant atheistic posterior region from any litigation from all these mothers who are going to be encouraged to sue these hospitals over disposing of their babies in this inhumane way. So they're all trying to act civilized when it comes to potential litigation. So we're addressing the issue and will not burn any more babies with your knowledge. So we will hide it better in the future. So that is what is going on there. The other things that are going on, let's see, let me just go down. All right, let's see. We got the Obama supposed to still meet with the Pope on the 27th. We got Obama's spouse, Michael, and his two rent-a-kids exploring the Great Wall of China, terrorizing the poor communists who see that they're great Marxist, Maoist, Obama. There's a great picture. I wish I could put it up for you, but there's a gift shop in China that has Obama dressed as Mao and this Chinese woman holding up the T-shirt. And I'm just going, yes, they know. See, they understand. He speaks our language. He's a commie through and through. He's a America-hating commie, homosexual, Marxist, Muslim sitting right in the White House there. Put there by the Republicans and the Democrats. Put there by the globalists. Put there to bring America down. And we are having to be subjected to the mainstream media, sit here and act like we have a real president. The Social Security absent president that we have in office, that's just nothing but a plant just to bring the curses, the biblical curses down on a nation by violating every possible law, biblical law that you can violate biblically to bring the wrath of God down on the United States. And when you look at it that way, you can see that the homosexual Obama and his transsexual partner, Michael, sitting there in the White House with their rent-a-kids. And, you know, even some people have gone in the conspiratorial realm to reversing the kids' names, and they get out of it. I forget what the phrase was, but it says it's something like I Allah am Satan or something like that. When you reverse the two kids' names and you mix the letters up, they get I Allah am Satan. And I said, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if that was originally done that on purpose. But, you know, you can get off in the conspiratorial realm. But I'm just throwing that out there so you know that. So that is what Obama's doing. We're coming up on a very critical, interesting date of the 31st of March. That is about 6 days away. And we are looking at a perfect storm of stories that will be coinciding on that date. So I'm going to take a brief break right here, and we're going to get into the rest of the time. We're going to talk about the Vatican and Satanism, and we're going to also work in the pineal gland, and we're going to finish out the remainder of our time with that. So I'll be right back. I'll be right back if I can push the right button, I guess.
Moving on. If you planned on following the presidential election in November, you might want to plug your ears. A big election spoiler is coming up. A minor software glitch at the Diebold Corporation today caused thousands of electronic voting machines to accidentally release the results of the presidential election months ahead of schedule. According to the group of military and corporate leaders that has chosen every American president since Eisenhower, Diebold's mistake marks the first time the nation's leader has been revealed prematurely.
I don't even know if I can enjoy the sham election now that I know who's going to win.
If you can't trust your shadowy overlords to keep a secret, what is the purpose, really, of voting in the puppet democracy?
I'm fine with it. I mean, he was going to get my meaningless vote anyway.
Despite the leak, all of the presidential candidates have so far said they'll continue their campaigns.
Newt Gingrich isn't about to give up just because he lost the election. He'll give up when he's supposed to on election day. And he'll act surprised.
Joining us now to talk about the leaked results is Diebold PR spokesman Ernie Kenilworth. Mr. Kenilworth, this was quite a mistake.
And we at Diebold would like to formally apologize to all of our shadowy puppet masters. This will not happen again. Please have mercy on us.
Do you think that people will still even vote in this election?
We certainly hope they will. This country is based on the fantasy that the government is the voice of the people. Going through the motions of voting and keeping the kingmakers' dealings secret is central to our culture.
Why do we need electronic voting machines in the first place? They're just not as reliable as our cloaked masters, no matter how good the software gets.
Well, I understand people's concerns, but from now on, we at Diebold will see to it that we properly safeguard the illusion of democracy, the illusion of democracy, the illusion of democracy, the illusion of democracy, the illusion of democracy for all Americans.
Well, let's hope so. So, for those of us who will watch, what can we expect on election night?
Oh, the same great show that you have always seen. We will be pretending to count votes, pretending to count votes, pretending to count votes, pretending to count votes, and we will be running an ongoing total throughout the night.
But wouldn't it be possible for them to just choose a different president so that we'll still have that same great surprise?
No, I don't think so. However, that does not rule out the possibility for a staged assassination, after the president has been placed in office.
Oh, I take it that's a hint.
You won't get anything else out of me today, Gina. I've already said too much. I've already said too much. I've already said too much.
All right. Well, thank you for being with us, Mr. Kenilworth.
All right. All right. So we're going to get right down. There was one story that will finish out the Malaysian story. That is, I think, this will give you the two pieces I didn't touch on before the break. This is actually important. This actually will tie in the things for you. Okay, so Pack Alert is reporting that Rothschild inherits a semiconductor patent for free-scale semiconductors. The disappearance of 4 members of a patent semiconductor traveling on Malaysia Airlines MH370 makes the famous billionaire Jacob Rothschild the sole owner of the important patent. Wow, how could that happen? Not a Rothschild. Deaths, disappearances, sole ownership of patents. Oh, that's sad. I'm sure it has nothing to do with this. Okay, so the mystery surrounding Malaysian Airlines MH370 is growing as each day passes, with more mysterious silence shadowing the disappearance of the airline. And of course, they've already said that it went down low and wrecked, and there's no signs of it, whatever. So it says, why were so many Freescale employees traveling together? What were their jobs? Were they on a mission? And if so, what was this mission? Can these employees be the cause of the disappearance of this plane? Could the plane have been then hijacked and these people kidnapped? Did these employees hold valuable information? Did they have any valuable cargo with them? Did they know company and technological secrets? With all the might of technology, why can't this plane be located? Where is this plane? Where are these people? So we're going to play this stupid game constantly, that the mainstream media is playing the stupid game. So let's see. It also owns Freescale RF, which involved in creating solutions for aerospace and defense listed below. So these guys who are missing were involved with battlefield communication, avionics, HF radar, band L&S, missile guidance, electronic warfare, identification, friend or foe, IFF. Freescale shareholders include the Carlyle Group. Oh, we never know, that we knew Dick Cheney and all these guys would be somewhere around here somewhere. Carlyle Group of private equity investors whose past advisors have included ex-U.S. President George Bush Sr. Really? A Bush? How did we get a Rothschild and a Bush in the same story? And former Prime Minister John Major. A Prime Minister too. Amazing coincidences here. Carlyle's previous heavyweight clients include the Saudi Bin Laden Group. How did we get the Bin Ladens in this story? The fact that Freescale had so many highly qualified staff on board the 777 had already prompted wild conspiracy theories. Oh, yes. All these names associated to one airline. Geez, that's a conspiracy that doesn't need to be looked at. Okay, let's see. 4 days after the flight disappeared, semiconductor patent was approved by the U.S. Patent Office. It's divided into parts. A 20% divided between 5 starters. One of the owners is the company itself, Freescale, and that's out of Austin, Texas, where, Austin, Texas is the home of Alex Jones, and it's also the home of a associated Jewish Mossad front. Let's see. Let's see. Patent holders can alter the proceeds legally by passing wealth to their heirs. However, they cannot do so until the patent is approved. So when the plane went missing, the patent had not been approved. However, the absurd theory does not add up. Although a free sale patent does exist, none of the names listed actually appear on the passenger manifest. If the patent holder dies, the other owners share equally in dividends from the deceased. If 4 of the 5 patentees died, then the patentee left alive guaranteed gets 100% of the patent. That remaining patent holder is the company Freescale Conductor. Who owns Freescale Semiconductor? The answer is David Rothschild. Okay. British billionaire owns the company Blackstone, which in turn owns the company Freescale. The family is from the 19th century. Okay, so it's going into the Rothschild background there. So basically, Rothschild ends up with the patents. And Rothschild's known for starting wars and killing people and assassinating people and all this to gain a little bit more control and a little bit more wealth. I guess being a trillionaire isn't good enough, So there's your Malaysian flight disappearance. Dr. Evil has these semiconductor guys at some little evil lab somewhere on some little evil island doing his evil little bidding. Who knows? I mean, how much kookier can you get? So there you go. You got the Rothschilds, you got the Carlyle Group, you got the Bushes, you got the Bin Ladens, you got everybody's involved with Malaysia Flight 777. So how much kookier can you get? Not much kookier. But here's the kicker here. You want even weirder? This even goes weirder than hooking up Rothschild with all this. Enter the Stars, Casey at Enter the Stars, which I've dialogued with before. He's done some really interesting stuff. He just has a very good way of tracking down things through movies that are connected to current events. He got into all this. Of course, before 9/11, we had all those movies that The Simpsons and the Lone Gunman episode that depicted the crashing of an airliner into the Twin Towers and destroying it. All those were in movies that happened before it happened. And, of course, you had The Simpsons, too, alluding to the 9/11 thing. So there's several people who got into analyzing movies. He's done an extensive breakdown of iPet Goat 2, an Illuminati front story that depicts the final end times all wrapped up in their little Illuminati storyboard, which is called iPet Go to, and he's broken down a lot of the people and events in that accurately. Very good stuff. He's also done a lot of things with foreshadowing of future events. Let's see. I believe he was the one involved with the Maserati commercial. I know the Grox one and him were involved with that, and Kleck were all involved around the Maserati commercial and the Trident story lines. So here we go. He again connects to this Malaysian 730, this 370 flight from a movie that has a direct video clip of a Trident colliding into the Indian Ocean. So the coordinates of the movie Man of Steel, showing the extraterrestrial Trident ship crashing into the Indian Ocean, is exactly at the coordinates that the mainstream media has been giving as the coordinates for where this plane went down. So you have another correlation here, again, with another movie. Man of Steel has probably been out, well, let's see, it came out last year. So it's the Superman movie that came out last year. It's about and Superman is the alien savior of humanity. He's a hybrid. He's a demigod. He's a half human. Well, let's see. He is not. No, his child with Lois Lane will be a demigod. He would be a fallen angel or a Nephilim if you got into that whole thing. So you can see the Superman story related. So Casey hooks up this another Trident image with the direct location of this Malaysian airline story, hooked up with these Rothschilds, hooked up with the semiconductor company, this Patton, Carlyle Group, everything, Bin Laden's, everything is all tied together with this crazy story, which just shows you that mainstream media is orchestrated. You can go out even further on a limb with this story. If you want to get into that somebody has access to some kind of oracle that can foresee events, this is what the Illuminati have always been into. That's why all their Greek movies have oracles being consulted. You can see this with movie 300, the possession of these oracles, being possessed by spirits and demons, giving premonitions of the future, divining the future. And this is what Rothschilds and all these Satanists are after, is they want anybody can foresee the future, can profit off of it, or can control it, or position themselves to deal with it. You don't have to believe in any of this stuff. The point is that they believe in oracles and demon possession to divine the future. And so this story is just crazier than, you just heard me say it. It sounds crazy as crazy gets. But all these factors are connected to this one story. So that is that. Now we're going to get into this hour. The second hour of the show. We're going to get into talking about the Vatican Satanists. Okay, this is a big breaking story. This is a story that has been developing for a while. We're going to hook it up with the work we were doing on the pineal gland previously. So we have that's come out in recent days. I've known about this group for a while. But let me see if I can have their website pulled up just so I can. Okay. If you want to Google, you can Google, there's a person's name, Kevin Annett. He spells it Kevin, Kevin, and then his last name, Annett, Annett. So if you want to sit along with this broadcast and Google this, you can read along with me. His main website that deals with this story and his organization, I will give you two IP addresses that are www addresses. The one I am looking at currently is itccs.org. And the other address that he uses and is also the ICLCJ.com. So we'll go over that again. The two addresses I am addressing with this satanic article is the itccs.org, that's one site, and the ICLCJ.com. Okay, so if you pull up those two web addresses, you're going to be on the story of what we're going to be covering for the last hour of the show. It's a very interesting story. I've known about it when it first came out. I didn't think that they would get much traction, just knowing the history of things. Anytime you have to deal with the Vatican. I am going to address as you're looking at these websites, let's see, there is a video on the Kevin Annett link to the itccs.org. The Kevin Annett video is from today, the 5-minute video. It's actually a very good video in the sense that he's describing that he is on his way to Brussels to address these allegations and this evidence that they've been gathering. I'm going to source a different article that is called The Pope's Vatican Satanic Cults. Ninth Circle Exposed, Going to Court. This is from March 23rd. This is this is taken from a longer interview that was held on the 22nd. It was about a half-hour interview done between Kevin Annett and I forget the other man's name, but he is a blogger that has I forget what his name is, but he was having a phone interview. And so the article goes on to say, a witness claimed they saw former popes Joseph Ratzinger and John Paul II participate in Vatican satanic cult rituals known as the Ninth Circle that torture and murder children. George Dufort of a Brussels International Court announced yesterday. So the article is coming out the 23rd. That original allegation interview is coming out the 22nd. It says, according to a deposition filed in court last week by a former member of the Ninth Circle, the cult practices at Catholic cathedrals and a forest grove in France. So get what they're talking about here. There is this organization, the ITCCS.org, is a foundation brought against Catholic clergy, against Catholic Church, regarding people who are from that background, alleging child sexual abuse and other satanic types of events occurring within the Catholic Church that it personally affected these. If you can read the ITCCS.org right under their main title, it says, our mandate to bring to trial those persons and institutions responsible for the exploitation, torture, and murder of children, past and present, and to stop these and other criminal actions by church and state. All right. That is implicating the Vatican. That is implicating other churches associated in this network that may not be Catholic, and it's also implicating state officials that who are aware of these and have kept the police from investigating these events. Very heavy stuff. Very, very, very surreal to a lot of people. Not surreal to me if you know the history of the Jesuits and you know the history of the Catholic Church and the inner workings of the Catholic Church. You have always known that they've been associated with the Whore of Babylon. Of course, in biblical terms, the church has always been associated with a woman. And the bride of Christ, when it's discussed in the New Testament, is associated with all the believers in Jesus Christ who are waiting for that final marriage ceremony to occur, which occurs after the rapture of the church. The church is the body of believers, of Christians. It has nothing to do with buildings. It has nothing to do with denominations. It is folks who believe what Jesus said about himself, what Christ said about himself. When Christ said, I am the way, the truth, and the light, no man comes to the Father but by me, it does not say, well, a little this and a little Buddhism and a little Satanism. Let's just mix up a little bit of everything, and it's all good. This is not the all good philosophy that is being promoted by the New Age Church, the ecumenical church. And the Catholic Church is heading up the one world religion. And these popes are heading up this one world apostate whore religion. So, a chaste bride is the believers, the biblical believers who believe in Jesus Christ. And the whore is a woman who is also a church that does not has not kept herself pure, has acted as a whore who has prostituted herself. So those churches, including the Vatican, including the Protestant churches that are whoring after Babylon and the Vatican, the mega churches who are the all good philosophy prosperity churches that are serving the spirit of this world, which is the dollar and the whore. Those are the churches that are called the whore. They are the non-chaste virgin. They are the woman who did not keep herself pure for her spouse. They are the whore of Babylon. They are the church that represents the spirit of this world, which is Lucifer, which is Satan, which is this whore. And so the Vatican is that part of this. And so we're going to get into... you don't get any more heavy hitting than this, I do not defend Vatican. I do not defend Protestantism. I am not one of those who will say, everything that happened with the Protestant Reformation was of God. I believe in people who believe in Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. And if you believe in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you are the part of that church. You are the church that is waiting for his return. You are not the Vatican. You are not Rome. You are not the Anglican Church. You are not the Lutheran Church. You understand? These are tags that were made by religious hierarchies to give some sort of structure and control over people. And I don't even like the people of faith, because I dislike that term totally. I don't like it one bit. It means nothing to me. When I hear people on Fox and all these quoting people of faith, faith in what? Faith in Fox News? Faith in this world? What the heck are you talking about? Oh, well, people have morals. Well, what kind of morals? It doesn't matter. It's a stupid term. It's another one of these fair and balanced, mishmash, compromised terms. It means nothing. People who have a scriptural view of the Bible, people who anchor themselves in the Bible, people who anchor themselves in Jesus Christ, that is the biblical church. That is the biblical bride. And outside of that, you're wasting time getting into arguing over these denominational issues. So, let's see. So, we have here, according to a deposition filed in court last week by a former member of the Ninth Circle, the cult practices at Catholic cathedrals in a forest grove in France. That makes 3 eyewitnesses who say former Pope Joseph Ratzinger was present during ritual torture and murder of children as part of a cult known as the Ninth Circle. Kevin Annette at ITCCS confirmed today in our phone interview. Murder rituals evidently took place in 1987 and 2002 at locations in France and Holland. Last week, the Brussels court received Vatican documents dated December 25th, 1967. See, this is getting back in the time period that Malachi Martin, the Jesuit informant to the regular world, when he wrote Windswept House, he was talking about the satanic Luciferian of the Vatican that was occurring at the Vatican, the enthronement ceremonies where they were enthroning Lucifer. And once we get through with this today, you will understand what is going on. And you can go back to Fantasyland and believing in what the mainstream media and what the public press releases from the Vatican and from these men believe, or you can believe, what people who actually are giving eyewitnesses accounts and who are discussing the history of this church and their association with Luciferianism. Okay, so last week the Brussels court received Vatican documents dated December 25th. That's of course Christmas, 1967. That say before each new pope assumes office, it's mandatory that they participate in Ninth Circle rites. The document referred to ceremonial murder of newborn children and consumption of their blood in rites referred to as the magisterial privilege. And I forgot, I should give I'm going to give A shout out to Star Monkey on Twitter for relating that this article had just come out the other day. That she was following this case, and she just let me know, and that's why we're working it in here, because it ties in very nicely to what's going on in our world and what is going on in the religious community, this one world religion, and what is going on related to the pineal gland topic that we were talking to. 3 days ago, Francesco Sonardi of ITCCS affiliate Rete El Abuso in Savona, Italy, said Ratzinger retains power at the Vatican. We know from several cardinals that Pope Francis is a caretaker figurehead who is not actually the Pope. It's all been a huge deception. Francis doesn't wear the papal ring and lives in a convent in Rome, not in the Vatican. He is given no official security and wanders about like a private individual. He makes policy statements which the Curia of Cardinals then disavow, saying Francis doesn't reflect church doctrine. The top appointments have been Germans or those connected to Ratzinger, who continues to speak to reporters like he's still the Pope. According to witnesses testifying at the International Court trial, the former Pope Ratzinger has been a member of Ninth Circle, also known as the Corona Novum or Crown, since at least 1962. I saw Pope Emeritus Joseph Ratzinger murder a little girl, stated another witness on October 28, 2013. It was at a French chateau in the fall of 1987. It was ugly, horrible, didn't happen just once. Ratzinger, Dutch Cardinal Alfrink, and Prince Bernard, okay, you don't remember him, were some of the more prominent men who took part. Prince Bernard is associated with Princess Beatrice of the Netherlands. Is one of the central figures that you see reported that goes to the Bilderberg meeting. So Prince Bernard, who was alive at the time, her spouse, I believe, yeah, I haven't checked that out exactly, but he would be the one that's being alleged here. The allegations confirm what Dutch therapist and witness Toos Nijenhuis told Annette a few months prior. Toos claimed that as a child, she also was forced to witness child murders that involved Ratzinger, Alfrink, and Bernhard. 2 child abuse survivors reported attending child murder rites in the catacombs beneath the Vatican. At the tender age of 12, Zavali of San Diego County said she was taken into the catacombs beneath the Vatican to witness sacrifice of a 3 to 4-year-old drugged boy. In this video, her interviewer responded that 24 years prior, Maria also claimed to have witnessed a satanic murder in the Vatican catacombs. If the International Court finds the popes and Vatican guilty of child exploitation, it might explain why the Vatican has made such an effort to cover up Catholic priests and nun child abuse. As of November 12, 2013, and with an estimated 10% of victims reporting, there were a documented 10 million survivors of Catholic abuse across the globe, with Catholic authorities refusing to cooperate with investigations and setting a few cases out of court settling. Only a handful of Catholic Church perpetrators have seen the inside of a jail cell. It's tragic that children are abused by those who should have their trust. Abuse is such a betrayal, said Tim Lennon of the U.S. Survivors Network of those abused by priests. The high and mighty re-abused by their denials, delaying tactics, ignorance, culpable criminal cover-ups. We can raise our voice and write letters to the editors, write comments on news stories, and support survivors who speak out. The new evidence for the Brussels court has been translated from Latin, entered into case records of the Citizen Prosecutor's Office. The International Court convenes March 31st to consider Vatican international child trafficking charges against the present Catholic Pope Francis, Jesuit Superior General Adolfo Puchon, Archbishop of Canterbury Justin Welby, I've done some articles with him, and former Pope Joseph Ratzinger. What do you think? Okay, is it just all allegations? No, these are documented. These people have documentation, actual Vatican documentation. The December 25th, 1967 is actual documentation regarding this cult of the Ninth Circle. It's... of course, the Vatican has been covering up for forever regarding the sexual deviancy of their priests. You have the allegations of the pedophilia and homosexuality in the priesthood, and you also have the Satanism involved in the priesthood too. And you have these cardinals. I believe almost every cardinal now is a Freemason. I think you actually have to be a insider of the Cardinals lineup. So here you got this church that has all this filth in it, and that is what is going on. Now, what's important about this date that's coming up here? Let's see. So we have the criminal prosecution commencing March 31st. What other date is commencing March 31st? Well, we're supposed to have complied and be signed up with the Obamacare by March 31st. We are at March 25th right now. What is the possibility that we could have a major world event or another Crimea, Ukrainian event or something else to occur to get our attention off of these March 31st deadlines? I mean, we got Obamacare fiasco with somebody who should be being impeached and putting in prison. We have a totally unconstitutional policy called Obamacare put in place by a traitor, John Roberts of the Supreme Court, Justice Roberts, let's call him, Knights of Malta Roberts. I flew to Malta the day after I said that the Obamacare was legal. So we have Traitor Roberts and his Knights of Malta contingent saying that all Americans must be basically signed up for Obamacare by March 31st, which was created to devolve into a single payer system, which was the plan from the very beginning. That's why they made it such a fiasco. But they basically are making us all criminals through this process for those who are not going to sign up for Obamacare, because nobody in their right mind would sign up for communism and for a dictatorship. So they're going to do something to devolve us into some process where we're going to have to get our health care, through a single payer system after some event happens. And then, of course, that's where the chipping comes in, because it's all part of the fiasco. And if you don't get your chip, you're not going to be able to buy or sell or receive health care. You become a non-citizen, and you'll probably be used for fuel in some hospital somewhere in Britain. Oh, that's enough of that. Let's see. So, as a follow-up to the ITC on their page, I'll just add some of this to the other post. It says that the Vatican has not responded. So the announcement came today as the deadline to respond to common law court summons lapsed on Tuesday without any communication from the primary defendants, Pope Francis, Jorge Bergoglio, Jesuit Superior General Adolfo Pochon, and Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby. Their silence is very telling and extremely important legally, said Court Secretary George Dufort from Brussels. Our prosecutor's office has the power now to proceed with its case and waive the normal examination procedure. Since the defendants are not disputing the charges and are thereby tacitly admitting their guilt, the court magistrates will enter a plea of nolo contendere by the defendants into the court record and have every right to rule against them in their absence. The startling development occurred as even more shocking news surfaced today in Rome that, so they're getting into the Ninth Circle discussion there. Okay. All right. And we covered this. So that is what. So the 5-minute interview with Kevin Adnett is a good one for that is accurate, up to date for today, and he's discussing going to Brussels to deal with this case. And so basically, you have by not replying to these court documents and contesting them, they're entering in a legal stance of guilty by, I guess, not responding. But this is the Vatican, and they trump the law, they trump the global law. No laws are held up when it comes to the Vatican. There's always, so we'll see what happens with this case. But the interest here for me was all the Satanist stuff, because it is very well known through history that the inner circles of the Vatican had a strong satanic background, conducting all kinds of Kabbalistic and satanic rituals in the catacombs. That's not the first time. What's interesting, I'll just add this to you. So for people who don't know Ratzinger's history, I want to inform you, about Ratzinger's history related to the Vatican. And I want you to, this is important for you to get a grasp of what's going on here. Ratzinger, 50 years ago, the then 35-year-old Ratzinger, this article is from 2012, so it's a little bit older, who was teaching fundamental theology at Bonn University at the time, was again hard at work studying pamphlets, correcting drafts, and preparing texts. Back then, Ratzinger was faced with a big workload being given to him by Archbishop of Cologne, Joseph Frings, who had chosen him as his theological consultant for the Second Vatican Council. So this magic word you hear, Vatican II. This is where the church basically became liberal. This is where the Vatican got hijacked by in public by the Illuminati. This is a simple way of understanding this. Ratzinger is very much involved in the hijacking of the Vatican into this, trying to propel them into the New World Order. So since 1962, Ratzinger's been involved. He was a assistant to this Archbishop of Cologne. So thanks to Frings, Ratzinger had access as early as the spring of '62 to draft documents delivered by the Preparatory Commission for discussion and approval in council. So here's Ratzinger. He has his fingers all involved in what's going to be discussed at Vatican II. What the people don't understand, and I'm going to try to find the exact term that they use here. Let's see if we can find it. So he's involved with the creation of the Vatican II documents that are going to be discussed. It was supposed to be a council that was supposed to be held to reaffirm the more traditional biblical stance of the Vatican. But this turned into a liberal takeover. And it wasn't just liberal, it turned into basically an occult takeover. And I am trying to find the actual, let's see here. So basically it says, given the help Ratzinger gave to friends through his contributions in the preparatory phase of the council, he certainly did not arrive at the meeting unprepared. The young Bavarian professor, what happened people usually can tune into what happened to the Bavarian connection. Well, the Bavarian connection is the 1776 establishing of the Illuminati on May 1st. With the Bavarian Jesuits, of course, that started the whole thing out at that time. And so, of course, they said former Jesuit Weishaupt, Adam Weishaupt, but he's, these Jesuits are like chameleons. They just adapt to whatever they need to adapt to get their agenda done, since they serve Lucifer is the ultimate who they're responsible to. So it says the young Bavarian professor showed he was well aware of what was at stake at the ecclesiastical event, even before it had begun. During his collaboration with friends, Ratzinger equipped himself with a flexible but well-defined toolbox of proposals and reflections, which would later give further depth to his intense participation in the adventure of the Second Vatican Council. The name of the group Ratzinger was with was called the Rhine Group. The Rhine Group was a bunch of Germans from Bavaria and stuff who just happened to be connected to the Illuminati. So the Illuminati takeover of Vatican II was helped by Joseph Ratzinger, who was part of the Rhine Group that came over and hijacked the Vatican. And now, look at it where we are today. We got a Ratzinger, supposedly not the Pope, who's sitting as the Pope, operating as the Pope, because we got these allegations coming out. So they have a front man, Pope Francis, sitting up there. All these popes, supposedly, according to this 1967 piece, are involved in this ninth circle, or this ninth crown, or this corona gate satanic cult. It seems to be mandatory for people who are going to be the head of the Vatican. So you go and say, well, what is the Vatican? Let me see where my little note is here. I put my note on the ground somewhere. Where is my note? Oh, well. Let's see. I had my note here, but the Vatican, when you break it down into its Latin terms, let's see. Oh, why would I misplace that all of a sudden? Well, basically the definition, when you look at the definition of the Vatican, defines into, a lot of people believe that the can part is from the line of Cain, and the vata part is the Latin. So it comes to, when they define the term, it's the serpent diviner. Okay, so that is the term. And if you look at, I would recommend that Jonathan Kleck did a very excellent video on the basilica as the serpent. If you look at the whole thing with Harry Potter and the term basilisks, when they were talking about the basilisk, that was the king serpent. And when you look at the basilica from the aerial Google Earth view, and you look down on the basilica, the head is shaped like a serpent's head with a crown on it. And it looks like the basilisk or the basilica. So it also has if you look at the layout of the cobblestones and stuff, you can see that there's a portal where the tongue should be coming out, that has a pathway running down that looks like where the tongue goes, or tongue sticks out. So, yes, the Google Earth thing of the basilica done by Jonathan Kleck was very informative as far as showing the basilisk. And that draws us back into the pineal gland topic, now that we have the Vatican satanic worship going to trial. We have this stuff going down on the 31st of this month. So we got some seriously potential major news-making kinds of events going on here. And this is usually when you get your false flags, because they want to distract you. If you remember the 9/11 event, when the day before the 9/11 event, you had Rumsfeld sitting there and before Congress talking about misplacing, I believe it was like $1 trillion, or I don't know, it was a crazy amount of money. It was an enormously high amount of money that had been misappropriated or was missing from the defense department. And then all of a sudden you had 9/11 the next day, and that no longer was the main story that was starting to come out. You had you had them talk about all this, these billions, multi-billions of dollars of missing funds, and then they have a 9/11 event, and then you supposedly have the records. Even somebody pointed this one out to me, that one I did research on it, that supposedly Building 7, the building that fell out of fear of what was happening around it. It just stood there and quivered itself to death until it collapsed. Building 7 supposedly was where the computer records of the Defense Department were saved, and so they were all lost. And then later Rumsfeld just said it was an accounting error and it never happened. So this is how kooky you get when you got actual real storylines and real people connected to things. And so here we got another perfect 9/11 event waiting to happen here, because you got the Pope and satanic worship, pedophilia, child sacrifice, and here you got this actual documents from the Vatican stating this ninth circle thing from Latin being translated and entered into a police court case. Crazy, insane, but that's what's going on. So what do the people in power usually do to distract the population? We already know that the mainstream media is incompetent to the core and paid for, and they want to avoid all topics. So they've spent the last, how much time have we spent looking at the Indian Ocean for a plane that is connected to Rothschild and connected to Men of Steel? I don't know. We wasted a lot of time. Of course, nothing's come out of it. They like to show people screaming and miserable and crying, and that's what they like to do. They like to traumatize the public with these big public outbursts of emotion and grieving to get people depressed and sad, and they like to traumatize. And I worked in trauma for years, and the one thing you don't do is you don't say, "Oh, here's somebody dying, let's show it," and then they say, "Oh, look at him die." And it's like you're traumatizing a bunch of innocent people who didn't witness this event. You just made these people witness this event, and now they're traumatized. Their nervous systems get a shock, and they can't process it, because you're not supposed to witness these kinds of events, but they do it on purpose. And that'll take us into the last part of our show today, that will be all about the pineal gland and why it's related to the Satan worship here. So drawing back from Dr. Joy, it says that the Bible is straightforward. Sorcery is pure wickedness and vainness. God promises a severe judgment on those who use divining through familiar spirits, as well as those who use other sorcery tools like entrails, images, oracle sites, a stock rod, which is the Vatican and all the ancient religions have. Usually they have a rod with a pine cone on it. Depicted as a divining rod. The pine cone also represents the pineal gland, so we also have that connection here. Or a decapitated human head. Now, this is interesting. Human heads were used by sorcerers to summon spiritual beings very early in mankind's history. Such grotesque witchcraft is first mentioned in Genesis 31:19 and verse 30, where a human head was used as a talking image or idol called teraphim. Teraphim. Very interesting. This is not something that you usually hear in a church service, talking about the severed teraphim heads. So, does the Catholic Church have these little skulls that they carry around on cushions? Do they have these things? Yes, they do. Do they have these vaults made out of bones and all kinds of creepy stuff? Yes, they have these vaults made out of bones. But they actually carry around these stupid skulls on top of cushions in some of their rituals. Very creepy. And here we have the terrapin, the summoning skulls. And here's the Catholic Church using the same thing. So this sounds very familiar to the crystal skulls of Mayan myths that were also supposedly used to communicate with the spiritual world. It is interesting that both the teraphim and crystal skulls involve quartz that function like a radio antenna. And hello, we're back at the pineal gland, because that's what the pineal gland is. It functions as a radio antenna. It has a quartz crystal function to it. So Mayan crystal skulls could theoretically have been used to harness radio waves as a receiver, but they may have served as a reference and or teaching tool left to future generations to educate humanity about the pineal quartz antenna in our skulls, which, if manipulated, allows direct connection to Satan's lower spiritual world through a form of universal collective consciousness like that of the bees. And here we go with our bees again, because the Vatican is all about the bees and the beehive, and the pyramids of Egypt are also about the bees and the beehives. Okay. So I'm going to jump to another section here that is getting into what does the satanic worship that is going on in the Vatican have to do. So it says Satan knows his time is short and he is going to utilize everything he can to control humanity. The smaller the population, the better control he will have. This explains why mankind is being doused with chemicals from chemtrails, pesticides on food, and fluoride in water. These all wreak havoc on human hormones, and especially our pineal gland, which regulates circadian rhythms that God established as part of his creation. He designed everything in harmony with perfect pitch. This is where I am going with a lot of my research. This is where Quayle was going with his exogenesis, talking about the pitch, the frequencies, the resonance, the sound, the sacred harmonics. These are the areas that are important, because these Luciferians are fooling with all this stuff and causing all kinds of havoc on people. So it says brain chemicals, when altered, cause consciousness to traverse into a setting outside the normal physical plane. High melatonin levels reached by drinking fresh pineal hormones, according to alchemists of black arts, is what allows Satan's royal serpent lineage to increase their pineal gland's ability to receive and transmit due to its granular particles behaving like crystals, instead a wireless phone. Excuse me. So what do we have here? As you can deduce by what I have just read, what we have just read is that these people who operate and engage in satanic ritual sacrifice, the drinking of blood, are doing so as part of their ritual to enhance the pineal glands, to enhance their ability to communicate with the serpent, to communicate with the spirits that are associated with this serpent energy. Okay, so when in Kundalini we're rising the serpent up to the third eye, that's one way of opening the third eye and entering into this ability to interact with this serpent state. But here they're actually drinking the blood, and from the blood, the brain chemicals. You've seen this with people who eat the brain, part of the brain. They're trying to gain access and increase the pineal gland receptivity. So here we go. It says fresh pineal hormones require human sacrifice. What were we just talking about? We were just talking about this ninth, I want to say Ninth Gate, but that's a Johnny Depp satanic movie that he did where he entered the Ninth Gate. So there's another Hollywood connection to you. But it was the Ninth Circle or the Ninth Crown cult that these popes are allegedly supposed to be part of. So this is why Satan's serpent lineage is noted for performing ritual sacrifices of humans. Okay, tie this in there. The only other option for them is fresh menstrual blood from a virgin of a certain lineage. So here you got the whole sacrificing virgin concept here. Menstrual blood also is another way of emphasizing the heightened ability of the pineal gland to interact in the serpent frequency. So Satan's lineage of alchemists throughout history has referred to this fluid as their elixir of life. And how many of you have heard elixir of life? Well, this is what such a satanic connection to eating fresh blood and conjuring evil spirits may be a reason why God warned Noah. And what do we have coming up this week? We got the Noah story, the Illuminati Noah story. If you want to go watch Noah, I got no problem with people watching Noah. I just don't expect it to be a biblical Noah. This is the Illuminati Noah. What do I mean by that? They know they're going to go into this apocalypse. They know that they want to survive the apocalypse. They know they want to defeat Jesus Christ on his return. This movie is about them surviving this and winning, okay, and coming out on the other side. If you go watching this movie for that aspect, you will see that that is why they're making this movie. It's not going to be a biblical Noah story. A biblical Noah story would portray Noah as a godly man. They're not going to portray this guy as a godly man. This Russell Crowe guy is going to be a drunk, and he's going to be a guy that uses the spirits, the fallen angels, and all this stuff to survive the flood. That has nothing to do with the biblical Noah. So, again, Hollywood takes a giant dump on the Bible and calls it a biblical Noah. And forgive me if I'm using that term, if that offends you, but that's what they're doing. They're blaspheming through Hollywood, their outlet, to all of us, violating all of us who are biblical believers by sitting here. This great liberal Hollywood that is always, holds up the rights and views and values of everybody and is sensitive to everybody except for Christians. You go ahead and just go out and draw a stick figure of Muhammad or make a cartoon character out of Muhammad and see what happens. But Hollywood could go and just totally just do their business all over the Bible, and you need to have tolerance classes on how to accept other views. But they're Satanists. Just remember that Hollywood is always going to be satanic, and every attack they can do on the biblical believers, they will do. So here we got this blood from the pineal gland. We've got this menstrual blood from the virgins, and we got it called the elixir of life. So it says, royal serpent families throughout history, who are all descendants from Noah's rebellious son Ham, are recorded to have eaten fresh blood against God's commandment. This is one of the forbidden practices. Ham's lineage became megalithic builders around the world who sacrificed humans to their gods and then drank the fresh blood. This lineage today still participates in black mass rituals involving drinking fresh blood to desecrate the meaning of the Last Supper of Jesus, because their holy communion is with Satan. Okay, so we're tying all the loose ends here together. The pineal gland, the blood sacrifice, the hormones of the pineal gland. Cannibalism, the megalithic builders, the Mayan temples, the ripping the hearts out, and the sacrificing and the dumping the bodies down the stairs, and the cannibalism that's involved. All of this is to heighten the pineal gland receptors so that they can have a clearer interaction with the serpent and the serpent energy. Royals have to retain their serpent lineage traits in order to obtain Satan's divine right to rule over earth. Who is interested in blue bloods? Who is interested in genetic lineages? Who is interested in marrying only within the right bloodlines? These are your serpent lineage. These are the people who do the blood sacrifice. These are the people who worship Lucifer. These are the Satanists. These are the guys that are getting their elixir of life from the sacrifice of the innocent. And they cover it up with their their police connections and their military connections, the inner circles of these people who are in the Vatican, who are in the blue bloodlines of England and of the Netherlands and the Bavarians and all this stuff. These are all the serpent lineage, and they all know what they're doing. And they're out to destroy the rest of us who are the image bearers of God, with their hybrids, with their fallen angels, with their lab experiments, with their Frankenstein experiments. And now they're cruddying up the atmosphere so that to specifically darken the atmosphere and block out the rays associated with being able to communicate with our Creator, Jesus Christ, the Father, and the Holy Spirit. They're purposely trying to destroy this world and recreate it in their own image, which is going to be the image of Lucifer and his hybrid genetics. So let's go to another section here. The nature of the pineal gland. The pineal gland is shaped like a little pine cone. So here we got with the Vatican, the pine cone, the Egyptians in the pine cone. It's shaped like a pine cone, the worship of the pine cone. The pine cone in traditional ancient religions is held to represent rejuvenation, revitalization, resurrection, things like that. When a pine cone is burned in a fire, it spreads out and releases its seeds, and through the fire it regenerates and revitalizes. The seeds become active so that you can have growth. So here's another agrarian type of metaphor for the phoenix rising. The phoenix rising out of the ashes. Out of the fire comes rejuvenation and birth of these new seeds. The Illuminati see themselves as the new Lucifer seeds that are going to live forever. This is where I always throw out my favorite, what's her name? I always draw a blank on her. Rihanna and her Shine Bright Like a Diamond song. So if you want to just Google Rihanna and Shine Bright Like a Diamond, that's a total song about what these Hollywood illuminists are promised. They're promised to be little gods that are going to shine bright like a diamond in the sky, like a star. A star is a fallen angel. Stars are always associated with angels. So this is just one of these obvious songs that's talking about what they were promised. So it's shaped like a pine cone. It's let's see. It undergoes anatomical changes when subjected to electromagnetic fields, both internally and externally. Satan enters it when a person draws a serpent up their spine through the black art of harmonic manipulation. Again, we're dealing with the harmonics, the frequencies. These are very important to this end times takeover. This is very important to the hijacking of the pineal gland. This is very important to the mark of the beast, which is going to be a mark put over your pineal gland to tune you into Satan radio. So, chanting a mantra, using drugs, listening to satanically doctored music, etc., causes the gland to frenzy, resembling a coiled snake ready to strike with the flickering tongue. Okay, so that's, let's see. Because our pineal gland is composed of quartz-like crystals, when aroused, it can be jammed using nanotechnology to hold it in a permanent vibratory state. So, see what I'm adding here. We're adding nanotechnology. What will be in these chips? What will be in these injections? What is going to be in people when this mark of the beast system rolls around? Are we going to have nanotechnology as part of these chips? Are we going to have retroviruses that basically rebuild the DNA in a fallen angel DNA? Like I told you last week, we just had the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show, which is very popular with teenagers who love Marvel Comics. I follow these shows because it is popular. This is the vain imaginations. The term marvel is used in the Bible, and you will see it's used, and it says marvel not It says, don't marvel on these things, on these vain imaginations, on these stories, these created stories. What is it talking about? It's talking about Lucifer in his tales, like he did with Eve. He can beguile you. He can lead you astray through strange, mystifying, superhero type of stories. He says, you'll get powers. Look at this. What was the head of DARPA saying to us? She was over there going, gee, if you did this tattoo or this chip, it's your first superpower. That's what she was saying to us. And what does Satan say through the comics, through Hollywood, through Marvel not? He's saying, you're going to have superpowers. Don't let these old curmudgeon-y Christian guys who read this Bible and have three-piece suits on, sitting there and they smell like mothballs, sitting in a hard wooden pew. They haven't gotten out of the 19th century yet. Don't let these guys take away all the fun. Look, we got cool cell phones. We can text each other stupid stuff. We can send kitty videos to each other from YouTube. Man, it doesn't get any better than this. But now we're going to have superpowers where, I can just, we can all be like Tony Stark eventually. And these guys are going to kill it for us. But if you just take the Stark technology, Tony Stark in the third Iron Man, if you watch him, was sitting there injecting his body with all these injector receiver things. No big deal. You can do it yourself. Look at Stark. He's injecting his bodies with all these nanobot receptors for remote controlling his armor suit to his body. So him and his body and his armor were one. And what's going to become, what's the mark of the beast promising? Collectively, all the hippies out there that are into pineal gland stuff, they want to be part of the collective unconscious. We're all going to be tripping out Jungian style on our telluric, vortices. At Stonehenge, we're going to be sitting there smoking ganja and tripping out, and we're all going to be hooked up and doing kumbaya together. And they're not saying that once the serpent jams your pineal gland wide open into Satan radio, you're not going to have any control of your body or any control ever again. You're just going to become Borg. You're going to become one of the Borg, just another one of the little drones that serves the hierarchy. Who are the hierarchy? The hierarchy are the fallen angels, the elite of the fallen angels and Lucifer. I seriously even doubt if Rothschild or any of them get any of the benefits. Once they've been used to the extent that they're going to be used, they're going to be discarded because they come from the humans. And if you've ever watched an X-Men movie, if you just sit there and listen to, usually it's Magneto or Mystique, one of these evil mutants, one of those guys will always go, Homo sapien, your time has come, your time is past. And they'll do this whole Nazi-esque take on the superiority of Kurzweilian technology and mutation. And we're going to evolve into some glorified state where we can all become psychopaths together and kill everything. And that's what we're dealing at. So here we got the pineal gland being jammed open. On top of this, the electrons and gold can emit. They were talking about the crowns of Egypt that they were created out of gold, and they had the serpent, and they were put around the forehead to conduct a stronger electromagnetic pineal gland resonance for the pharaohs. Let's see where we go. Okay. On top, so I was talking about this ensures reception but not transmission. Jamming is what Satan will do to suspend free will, thereby forcing a robotic response from its victim. When this occurs, there's no biological process within humans to stop Satan's transmission from being received other than lobotomy, which destroys the mind anyways. This further explains why the 144,000 at the end of the age must be sealed when believers in Jesus are raptured. If not, they would possess no biological capability to stop the Antichrist from infiltrating their brains and totally controlling them. Understanding what humanity is really up against is very important because being left behind means you cannot biologically escape Satan's evil. So that sounds like we're basically, what we're trying to get to the point of here is that the whole world system is a giant matrix of lies and deception. The guy who runs it is Lucifer, Satan himself. And he has his agents who have done their Faustian deals all around the globe. Putin, Obama, Netanyahu, any of these Freemasons are part of the end time deception, okay? The only people who are not going to have to deal with the full out tribulation period are those who are the church, in the sense of the bride of Christ, the Bible, Scripture, Jesus-believing Christians who don't believe Jesus is a New Age amalgamation of a bunch of other belief systems, okay? He is the only way. He says he's the only way. That's why they hate him. That's why the world hates him. The world hates him because Lucifer is in charge of it. Lucifer is the great compromiser. Lucifer is the great one that says, oh, you're not going to die if you take this fruit or, if you do this act. And he lies. So he's known as the father of lies. And he was a murderer from the beginning, as can be seen in his offspring Cain, who killed Abel and didn't give two hoots about doing it. He said, who am I, my brother's caretaker to God, when God said, your brother's blood is screaming from the soil out to me that you killed him? Because God could feel the frequency or the resonance of Abel's blood. He knew Abel's frequency. He knew his resonance. Okay? So, here we are. This has been a heavy show that has basically talked about really wild kinds of things, in the sense that this is not mainstream knowledge. This is not mainstream topics. We have a major situation on our hands. We have major problems facing us. We are on the doorstep of the tribulation, and you need to, at this point in time, realizing you have been hoodwinked, if this is new to you, that this serpent beguilement, this serpent trickery is all being done to ensnare you, to entrap you, so that your soul goes to hell, where he wants it to go, where Lucifer wants it to happen. His only thing he can do, he knows he's defeated, he's mad, he just wants to destroy as much of God's creation as he can, and by taking your soul to hell, that is his greatest accomplishment that he can accomplish at this time. So he wants to deceive the world, he wants to get people to reject Christ, choose him as God. And when he's destroyed, everybody that went along with him is going to be destroyed right along with him. And God doesn't want that. So that is it for today on End Times Matrix News for this Tuesday, the 25th. I think that we're in a position where we have a high likelihood of a false flag event, because we got too many news stories that are major problems. We have a war with the Ukraine situation. We got the Obamacare situation, and we got the Satanic Vatican situation all coming. And right here we got on the 31st. So keep your eyes wide open. Repent. Accept Jesus Christ as your Savior, the only way to salvation. Lean on God, and during these times, don't let fear overtake you. The only reason I tell you these things is to give you accurate information so that you can make an accurate decision and not be deceived and lied to by the likes of Bill O'Reilly, by the likes of every other loser out there in the mainstream media who wants to keep talking about some little downed airline somewhere in the Indian Ocean when we got major crises about to descend upon us with all kinds of strange false flags that these guys have cooked up for us. So for Tim Clark and End Times Matrix News, I'm signing out here on Tuesday, March 25th. Stay safe. And God bless everybody. And I hope to see you again on Friday for the 12 o'clock 12 o'clock show. Have a good day.
freedomtalkradio.co.uk. This is the most diverse, most amazing, one of the funniest radio stations you could ever listen to on the internet. I've heard so much stuff from the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights,
the politics, the non-politics, the schmalitics, whatever you want to call them.
It's great.